Okay, I think we got him.
There we go.
Hello, Danielle.
Hello.
Hello.
All right.
Hey guys, now that we got everyone here now, I just want to welcome you guys to my podcast. I saw you guys. I've been following you for a little bit now, and I like what you guys are doing. It's kind of nice to see someone have like a show just on beer, testing out a beer. It's great.
Well, that's how it started, at least. Yeah. We figured we were drinking it anyway. We might as well put it on video and have some fun.
Yeah,
Hey,
why not?
nothing wrong with that, eh? And
And
talking
then
about,
go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Sorry, this is a little weird. I haven't done like a three-way like convo here, so bear with me if I interrupt or whatever. So
Well, we're all learning how to use this video conference concept for doing shows and chatting with people. The more the people, the more intricate it gets with cutting people off. Don't worry about it. Chris does it to me all the time when it's just the two of us.
just when you
Yeah,
guys are
I'm used to
drinking,
not
or
talking.
but yeah, guys. So I just welcome on my podcast, and we'll get started here. So I guess obviously, I don't. Are you guys still when you're filming? Are you still getting together or?
No, we've only done one show since this whole COVID thing started, and that was about 3 weeks ago, I think. Right, Chris?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and we did similar to this. We went into my home bar, and I have a TV in there on a swing arm, and I just swung it out and put Chris on the TV screen through FaceTime, and stuck the microphone near my computer's speakers so that you could somewhat hear him. But I think our next one we're going to have to do it Zoom, because we're going three-way with somebody in England for the next episode.
Right on. That's awesome. Yeah, I saw that video. I was like, wow, they actually got to make it work. I've seen other people who like do like podcasts or will do like shows like that, and they throw them on YouTube, and they can't get together. So I've seen some people do like green screening and stuff like that. So it certainly does help for sure. I don't know if you guys know Trailer Park Boys at all.
Yep. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I figured
We're
you guys
Canadian.
would.
It's prerequisite.
Yeah, I figured you guys would, but yeah, when they do like their podcast things, they got the green screen to make it look like all three of them are all sitting at the table. It looks
Okay.
really weird because like you got Ricky on the right or on the left, and he's all like it looks like it's just a paper cutout. So I don't know. It looks a little more silly than it does than it works.
Well, it suits them lots then if it's the silly look.
Yeah, I guess that's true, but. I mean,
So
now that I hear that you guys are, not getting together for the videos, so how are you guys doing besides that during this quarantine?
go ahead, Chris. But before we carry on, I've been sitting here for 20 minutes waiting to crack this open. So
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, we got to crack some
it's
beers open. What's yeah.
getting a bit thirsty.
Well, I mean, we can crack open a beer, and I can answer that question.
Here we
too.
go.
There
Is
we go.
is basically we've been getting through the quarantine with beer in hand. Really, that's kind of how we're doing it.
I don't know, I might have to grab one of my grandpa's one of his pints here. So
So like it's been a hit and miss with getting good beer because it's difficult to get to the breweries. But today I received my first online order delivered from a local brewery called Left Field Brewery. I don't know if you can see this. I don't even know if it's.
oh, right on. What kind of beer is that?
So it's just a regular. They call it an Ontario Ale, and it's basically it's an ice cold beer. That's the name of the beer, ice cold beer.
Oh,
And
okay.
it says that the fans wanted it, so we delivered. And it's
Gotta
basically
deliver.
Left Field is kind of like they revolve around a lot of their beer names revolve around baseball and stuff. So it's kind of like if you're at the ballpark or the soccer game, hockey game, whatever, you get yourself one of these.
There you go.
Hey,
Have
Luke,
you
if you
guys?
need to, you can just drink right from the can. It is acceptable.
It is, but I figure, you know what? You guys are pouring your glasses. I'm gonna pour a glass as well.
That looks like a
So
nice mug. What's on it? What's on the mug?
it's you know what? It's a Pilsner. You know what? I don't know if you can read it, but no, here you go.
I mean,
But
now it's a German beer.
it is. So okay, so the story. So if you look behind me, so all these mugs were most of them were my grandfather's. So what happened was my dad, after like once he died, my dad pretty much inherited. So my dad inherited all the beer or all the beer mugs, and then he thought, hey, you know what? I'm gonna put them on the shelf. You know what are they doing in the box? So he's like, screw it. So he threw them on the wall there, and then he bought some more just at like, I know that he went to him and my mom. They went to Europe, so I think they bought a couple in Germany. I don't correct me on that. It might be Germany or it might have been Spain. I'm not sure. But they bought a couple in Europe, and then my dad had bought a couple in like a I don't know, like a used store or whatever, like you can get anything. And he found a couple there. So
Perfect. Some nice beer steins by the looks of it back there.
they are nice. They are very, very nice.
Cheers, guys.
This is the first time I've ever. Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Cheers. Trying to multitask here.
So tell us what you're drinking.
It's called Spirit Wolf. It's it's like a Pilsner. Have you guys? Here, I'll show you. Have you guys ever had Sons of Kent? It's in Chatham, Ontario.
Oh, we'll have to find that then.
You guys are from Toronto, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Chatham is probably about 3.5 hour. So you got Toronto, what would be between like London, and then you have Chatham.
Yeah.
So
I grew up in Sarnia, so I know exactly where Chatham is.
yeah. So
yeah, we're the Toronto folk that actually leave the GTA once in a while.
We don't just stay in the city.
And neither of us are from the GTA either. So
where are you guys originally from?
go ahead, Chris.
I was born in New Brunswick, and I moved to Ontario when I was like 8 months old. I lived in Sarnia for most of my childhood life. And then I moved to Toronto when I was 20, and I've lived here ever since.
All right, and Dan?
London, England, who's where I was born. Moved to Canada as a little kid. Moved all over Canada and the rest of the world, and now back in Canada and Toronto.
Right on, and I'm
In a trip.
I'm born and raised in Chatham. Haven't left.
Have you left Chatham?
No, I haven't actually.
Oh, come on. You've been to Toronto once.
Oh, you mean like left? Yeah, yeah. Like I've left. I've the last time I was in Toronto, I was there for work. I work for community living, so I support people with intellectual disabilities. Nice. And they asked me to take some clients to a Toronto Maple Leafs game. So I'm like, okay, yeah, because I'm a huge fan. So hell yeah, I'll go. And that's the last time I went, and that was February 4th, I think, that game when they played Ottawa, and it was incredible. We got to stay at what hotel was it? It was the one right across from Via Rail.
Oh, the York.
Yeah, the York.
Is that what it's called? Not the York.
The Fairmont, sorry.
There we go, Fairmont. Yes.
The Royal York. The Royal York.
Well, same thing.
Yeah. It was definitely nice. I mean, nice hotel, but I probably wouldn't pay that money to stay there myself, but
yeah, I think I stayed there once a long time ago when I was younger.
So we're kind of simple for guests. We drink beer, and on our show we drink beer and we have guests, and just like you. In fact, I was checking out some of the stuff, and you got some great sports guys visiting you on your show.
Oh yeah. It wasn't really it wasn't really planned. It was more so kind of what happened was I was kind of I thought about asking a couple of guys, the local hockey guys, and these are like 17, 18-year-old boys. Like they're from the Go JHL league, and it's like a junior B league.
Yeah.
And a couple of them like, yeah, sure, I'd like to do that. So I did the one guy, he was a goalie, or he's going to be coming back next season. And then I think another guy asked, "Hey, can I come on?" I'm like, "Sure, okay." And then right from there, then a couple guys from the team asked, "Hey, can I come on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, sure." So that's kind of how it started. And then a couple guys that are local, they like I was like, "Sure, that would be really good coverage, for them and for me." So yeah, so I asked Brett Bracco. He's local here, and he plays for the London Knights, and that was pretty sweet. And then I got Brett Bracco, and I just can't think of his name right now, but he also is in the OHL, and he's local. So that's kind of how it kind of happened. Like, I'm not necessarily, my podcasts aren't so much about sports. It's more like fitness, health, and wellness. So I think including beer is for your health. I think we can include that, right, guys?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a very important part of the daily recipe.
Well, I mean, hey, one beer a day apparently is good for your bones, so I'll trust that.
As long as it's only one beer a day, you're good. It's
Yeah.
everything in moderation. Everything in moderation is
Absolutely.
We may, exceed our moderation from time to time, but that's our job. That's what we do. That we're doing the podcast for that reason.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've all had those days where we go a little bit past what we normally drink, but it's still a good time. So
Absolutely. And so, what is the goal of your podcast here? Like, where are you going? You're trying to get some Maple Leafs on, or?
not necessarily. So I have anybody on my podcast. I'm not gonna have the average Joe from the street come on, right? But I typically like to have guests who I follow on Instagram. Just people, and for me, for podcasts, it's not just chatting with people and getting to know people and knowing what they do. It's also, I think it's a bit of therapy. I think anything that you do, like for you guys like to drink your beer on video, and I think that's it's something that it's good for you guys. It's something that you guys enjoy. For me, doing podcasts, it's something that I enjoy, and it's good. It's good for me because I learn from people, even if it's we're just having a fun podcast here. We're drinking beer, we're getting to know each other, but it's good for me. I learn from you guys. I like to learn. I like to know more and more. So, for me, it's a learning aspect, and it's just more. It's just good. I want to have more knowledge. I want to know. I would like to know how people view life, and I want to know. I like to get different perspectives on things, because I don't think that if I just think this is how life is, okay, that's great. But if I take different perspectives of other people, it's good to have that different view on life. So I guess for me, that's kind of how I like to do podcasts.
I like it. Sounds awesome. And I also like that during the quarantine, you've ramped up your production. You've brought out a lot more episodes than in your early days. Like, it was every month or every this and that. Now it's like you are about to release 2 shows in a day, or if not today, tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like, you've ramped it up. So.
Well, and that's it. Yeah, and that's it. Like, and I'll say 2 parts of that. Yeah, that's part of it. Just having more time. I'm not working as much. And I guess that's the first part. Second part, I don't think I took it as serious. Like, I was like, yeah, I'll just do podcasts because I enjoy it, and I'll film it and whip it on the internet and let it be that. But then after, I was like, you know what? Why don't I actually work hard at it and actually put more effort into it, and see if I can go anywhere with it. And I think the big step was getting an Instagram account. And I had a lot of people messaging me like, hey, like you've had a podcast channel for a while. I looked up your videos, like why have Instagram now? And I said, good question. That's what I asked myself. So yeah, I think that's just, I think having Instagram really boosted a lot of views and coverage of myself. And I think that's also encouragement for myself to keep going. Because for me, it does, like I've done 3 podcasts one day and I'm exhausted. Like I'm just from, chatting and especially the sports ones, just more because I'm more the guy. I'm like pretty much asking all the questions. I'm more interviewing the guys. So it does get, exhausting. So having that, the Instagram and having the social media to help just gives me more of the encouragement to just keep going. So.
Yeah, Instagram's helpful. I know we've gained a few guests from Instagram alone, which was, for us, it was nice to be outside of our wheelbox, getting guests that we wouldn't have thought of or even known about hadn't it been for Instagram. I mean, I know a lot of our guests have been based around, I mean, we're in different houses and we're still all wearing something TFC related because we have a Toronto FC issue, big fandom, and having some of those players and management on the show has been great. But having other people that we found through Instagram or they found us, it's gone both ways. Has really been fun. And like you said, you learn from your guests, and it's nice. And then you get to when it comes to us, you get to enjoy a beer at the same time.
Absolutely.
Which when you have a professional athlete on your show, it's kind of funny because they're not used to drinking a beer while trying to answer our silly questions.
It's like, have another beer. Have another beer. Maybe you get more questions out of them. I think it should play out more like, okay, guys, if you answer a question, you have to have a beer per question, and then see how many more questions you get out of them. I think the more beers you give them, the more questions you get and more depth you get in with those questions.
I think that would work for the guy next door, but these guys are everyone we've met so far. I mean, this is their careers, so being able to convince them to have one beer with you on camera is plenty good.
Yeah, and we sell ourselves at being not the hard-hitting interviewer type guy. We want you to come on the show. We want these guys to come on our show and just talk about the beer, what they got going on in their life, how they feel about sports in the city and the country, whatever avenue they're in. We've had musicians on talking about future gigs. It's a matter of, we're not here to try and grill these guys into giving us stuff that.
Yeah, I don't think we'd have very many guests if it was, so last night's game sucked and everyone says it's your fault. How do you feel? They get enough of that from the real sportscasters and newspapers and stuff like that. They don't need it from people like ourselves. Like Chris said, we just like to have a chat with a beer as opposed to an interview or anything like that. So it's pretty easy that way. The hard part's getting the guests sometimes. That's the hard part.
Right on. I have 2 questions for you. So, what's probably been your favorite? I don't want to use the term favorite, but what's been the most fun? Like, who's been your favorite? I'm gonna say it. Okay, who's been your favorite guest on the show?
I'll let Chris.
I know
take first.
Yeah.
You want me to go first?
Yeah, you, Chris. Yeah.
I mean, that's harsh, man. I don't know who has been my favorite guest. I mean, we've had quite a few guys come on the show, and a lot of them have been enjoyable. I mean, that's a tough question. You're throwing hardballs at me, buddy. I would have to say probably our first guest would have to be my favorite, just because it was our first guest. It was Stephen Caldwell. he had just recently retired from Toronto FC, and I jokingly said to Dan, if you can get him on the show, that would be the goal. And within a month or so after him retiring, no, it wasn't that fast. I guess after me challenging Dan to get him on the show, he shows up for a beer with us, and it was just a laugh, and it was good times.
Yeah, he was a lot of fun, and he's been on twice actually. He came on a second time, so it couldn't have been that bad for good old Stephen. My favorite guest, I feel like we're playing one of those late night talk show where, you know, you have to down some horrible food, or if you don't answer the question, you know. Maybe we should make that for our show, Chris, except you have to down the beer if you don't answer the question.
You don't answer this hard-hitting question, you got to drink the rest of your beer.
You got to down your beer.
Now,
Drinking game. Favorite guest we've had. That's because
I really destroyed you guys with this question, didn't I?
Because I've enjoyed all of our guests, like sincerely enjoyed having them
Right.
come to us, or we've gone to them. I'm going to split it into two.
Okay, that's fair.
In the home studio guest and out of the studio guest. That way I get two people.
Okay, that's fair.
Out of the studio was Bill Manning, the president of Toronto FC and the Argos. He gave us a tour of the training grounds. We drank some beer in the change room there, and he was just really fun and nice. And he's been continuously nice to us and good to us. He has also been on the show twice, both times at the training grounds for Toronto FC. Inside the studio, for me was getting Jonathan Osorio on the show. He was a lot of fun. We had this beer delivered to us from the West Coast, and there was all different flavors. And what was the Grizzly Paw was the name of the beer?
Yeah.
Grizzly Paw was the brand name of the beer. And Jonathan Osorio, his nickname is Ozo, which means bear in Spanish. And so we had these bear beers and Ozo there. It was all our shows have been fun, but I remember that one specifically. So that one for me.
Yeah. So I guess I'm not gonna give you another one like that. I was kind of throwing you guys on the spot. That was a dangerous question. I'll give you that. Okay, here's a good one. So, what would probably be the best beer you guys have tasted? Or maybe I'll give you a couple. You can pick a couple.
Okay. The best part about beer is it's like everything else. Everyone's taste is different.
Right.
So Chris and I definitely will never have the same beer love, like for the same style of beer. So I'm going to go with styles instead of picking out just one or two. Is since we started this show, I had no idea about sour beers, and they're really going huge now. And
Really?
If you give me a choice of a sour or any other style of beer, an ale or anything like that, or a stout or a pilsner, I'm taking the sour hands down. Where Chris?
So I'm gonna take a page out of Dan's book, and I'm gonna tell you two styles of beer that I enjoy most. So some days you have a different, you have a different palate. It depends on what you're eating. It depends on where you are, the weather, whatever. But my two most favorite beers to choose would be a hazy IPA, which is made in New England or like northeastern America. That's where they originated, and it's just a really hot, not so hoppy, but like a really fruit flavored IPA, and I love them. And then my other style would be like a Weiss beer or a wheat beer, and that's like a German beer, I guess.
Okay. Well, Chris, it's interesting you bring up the German beer. I can remember you guys just kind of mentioned some of the, kind of the beers that you guys like. I've never really been fixed on a certain type of beer or a brand of beer that I really enjoy. Like if I guess on any given Sunday, I would go for um, like a Coors Light or something light, just because for me, like I'm really into fitness. So when it comes to like enjoying myself, I try to be careful with the carbs and everything. Like, beer is beer. Um, so on any given Sunday, I try to do with any kind of light beer. I used to be really into Bud Light, Budweiser, stuff like that. Like, like the simple kind of beer. But I really, really do enjoy Stiegel or Stiegel.
Mhm.
Stiegel,
Yeah.
I think that's how you say it. But the thing is, it's weird. I don't like drinking out of a can. A lot of people talk about um, the difference between drinking out of a can, out of a bottle, or on tap. I love Stiegel on tap. It's unreal.
Yeah, I can see that for sure. And then I don't drink out of a can or even a bottle anymore. Some beers are actually made for certain styles of glasses,
Is that right?
and that the flavor and the way it kind of like a wine, the way it breathes and stuff like that is you have to use this. You don't have to use, but to get the most out of it, to put it in a certain style of glass as well, which I didn't know until we started this show. Well, Chris and I were both like you. We would drink Coors Lights and Bud and,
Hello.
Canadian. And the fancy beer was Moosehead, I think. And we didn't even realize that this craft beer world existed until we started this show. And it's amazing what's out there. And just to let you know, Luke, there are light craft beers out there. So don't be scared to dip into one or two of them when you're out with your friends,
I mean,
because they make everything. All these breweries at least have 4 or 5 different beers on the go at any given time. They'll have 1 or 2 that are their mainstays that you can buy at obviously the brewery, but you can also buy at the LCBO or order online. And then they do. Then they throw in different flavors, seasonal beers, made for the season.
Mm-hmm.
There's a world of beer out there, and I know I said this earlier that everyone's taste is different, and that what you like is what you like, and there's nothing wrong with that. But definitely branch out. It's like if you're a meat and potatoes person, you still want to convince them that there's other food out there. Go give it a go. Definitely go give it a go. And it's majority of the time you'll be supporting local at the same time.
yeah. And at this time, it's good to support local businesses that are going to need our money more than the big wigs. Like I used to drink Coors Light. I can't remember the last time I had Coors Light. I think that I have a post of maybe 3-4 years ago on Two Guys One Beer.
Yeah. No, sorry. I was trying to. Something came up on my screen, so I had to click it. So I was like, sorry about
We all
that.
got it.
It's like, is this guy drunk after 1 beer? No.
He's ending the Zoom chat after half a beer.
No. Yeah. So, have you guys had any? Have you ever had any bad experiences on the show, whether that be with guests or something doesn't go right, or
Lots.
Dan, can we tell the story about when the camera ended when we were doing that episode with Terry Dunfield? We ran out of space.
oh,
That was just the one camera. We were lucky that way that we had 3 on the go for that one.
Yeah. The main camera, it ran out of memory space. That was probably the one that I remember the most, the hardest.
Yeah, that was interesting for editing purposes. Yeah, I won't mention names, but we have had 1 or 2 guests that really made it hard to make a show out of it. They were in a different headspace completely. I don't even know if they were with us, even though physically they were there. So that would be the hardest thing outside of technical issues we've had. But all in all, we we do a little bit of editing and make the most of everything we get. And like you, we throw it out there and see if anything sticks. And we have a few people watching, so we're happy. And we're drinking beer with friends, so we're pretty happy anyway, even if it doesn't stick and nobody watches.
And,
Right.
and one rule that we've come up with after a couple of bad tapings that didn't see the light of day, we've decided that we can't have too many before the show. If we have 3 or 4 and then try and make a show, it doesn't turn out the way we want it to.
So you're telling me you had some bad experiences with some of the having a few too many before you need to get down to business.
Yeah.
We warm up with a single beer, kind of like when you go to the gym, you warm up with some form of cardio. We have a warm up beer, and then we have a show beer, and we have a cool down beer. It's like a full workout, 45 minutes to an hour.
Well, it's interesting that you guys brought that up. I remember when I was mentioning about not taking the podcast seriously, this was like early stages. I probably would have been maybe 22 at the time. So this was a few years ago. And I can remember, so a friend of mine, his name's Elijah. So me and him, we used to do like a podcast channel together. And so what happened was, the reason we stopped doing it together because it was just schedules and trying to get together. Like we were both working, totally different schedules, and it just wasn't working out. But I remember we went out one night, and I swear to God, I think I had about 14, 15 beers in one night, a bunch of mixed drinks, and he was down in the sauce. And I remember we came back, and one of his friends, like she's just trying to get down with us all night. And it was a terrible night. But anyway, he's like, "Hey, I got a genius idea. How about we go and do a podcast, buddy?" I'm like, "Oh, okay." And we're just gone. And we did the whole thing, and we did it for like 45 minutes, and basically half of it was just gibberish, and we're just, we're going on about stupid shit. And then finally I was so freaking out. I woke up like freaking out, like, oh shit, I hope I didn't put that on the internet last night, because I don't want work. I don't want like family to see that. And thank God, I mean, it was on like a recorder. Before I did everything on the special device, we had just on a recorder, and I was like, oh fuck, thank God we didn't put that on the internet, because it was bad. Like we're talking about, like, you can hear so I'm chatting away, and you can hear my buddy in the background. He's like, "Hey Luke, I'm gonna go fuck her now," and I'm like, oh jeez. And you can hear it faintly in the background, like, "I'm gonna fuck her." I'm like, and I could only imagine if it was on the internet. So that's probably for me a bad experience, for sure.
Yeah, it's fun to put stuff out there, but yeah, you got to be careful what you put out there.
Oh,
I
100%.
I don't want to be, Mr. 100% PC guy or anything like that. But you do have to be aware of what you're saying and what you're putting out, because you don't want to offend people. It doesn't mean you can't have your own opinion and say things, but you don't have to be a dick either.
100%. Chris?
I mean, I was just laughing at your story. I was thinking about drunk texting. You're worrying about drunk podcasting.
Oh, believe me, I've had my share of drunk texting. Oh, geez. I've had it where I remember, so I've been texting my boss all Friday on this one Friday. And I remember it was a Friday night, and I just happened to have my boss's number in my phone, because I'd been texting her about things. She couldn't come to our location. And I don't know, I just happened to have like the text messages saved. And there was this girl that I'd been texting that night, and I wanted her to come to the bar. And I just, when you get drinking, you're just saying whatever comes to your mind. And I can remember I had that split second, that almost like that freak out split second, like almost like, oh shit, did I send that to my boss? Like, and then like the heart's pumping, and you're freaking like, oh shit. And thank God it wasn't. But after that, I always made sure that I deleted anybody that, just in case, if I send any drunk text, they're not getting it. So
good times.
But yeah, anyway, I'm kind of getting back on track here. We kind of went through all the bad experiences and with the show and drinking and carrying on. So Dan, you gotta tell me about this home brew.
Well, it's empty.
I know. I got to get another one.
You have to get another one.
While you were just talking there, I just texted my lady and asked her to bring me a drink, so I wasn't rude and to leave. So for those people looking at me staring down, yes, I was texting, but I have a refill coming. Yeah, so this was the last one of my last batch, actually,
Okay.
which was a Pilsner. So you'd like it.
Yeah, like that's exactly what this what the Spirit Wolf is. It's actually like a coffee blonde, so it's got a hint of like coffee in it, which I thought would be weird. But
no, it'd be nice.
So what, like you said, it's a Pilsner. So did you have any like, did you throw any like extra taste in there, or is it just a straight up Pilsner?
This one was just a straight up Pilsner.
Okay.
And I've got one fermentating upstairs right now, which is a Canadian Pale Ale. Now,
Okay.
now I took it from an American Pale Ale recipe, but I am using Canadian 2-row wheat. So damn it, it's Canadian Pale Ale. There's nothing American about it. And we'll see how it tastes. And this one also has nothing extra added. But I have done that in the past. I've done some raspberry beers, and I did a nice. We had you asked that question about some favorite guests. One by one, we had the whole band of C Spot Run on the show. Yeah, 4 separate shows with each member. And it was last year was the. Last year was the 20th anniversary of their hit single Weightless. And so I made a C Spot Run beer for them. Nice labels with the album cover on the label and everything like that. And that was a lime Pilsner. And boy, that one was really tasty. Chris, eh?
Yeah, that was good. And the fact that they all loved the beer was even better.
Yeah, that kind of helped. That made me feel good for sure. But Chris, you make beer as well, and we're learning. We're at the beginning stages, and I'm having fun with it. I've got the toys and the pots, and I keg it now as well as do into bottles, and have a little silly draft system upstairs, so I can just walk up anytime and pour myself a glass of beer. It's a nice hobby that. You invest a couple dollars to get into, and outside of going to all these craft beer shops to buy beer, I'm and Chris are making our own. We save some money, and I brew the beer with my other half. So we do it together. She and I will sit there stirring the thing, and we'll have a few drinks, listen to music. So we're doing something together that isn't sitting on the couch watching TV.
Hey, and you're getting your activity, or you're getting your workout in too. I mean, you're up on your feet. You're making beer, so you're not being lazy either. Getting your exercise.
It's about a 4 or 5 hour brewing process of standing on your feet. You know, and so I know this last round because of quarantine, I've become extremely lazy. My feet felt it at the end of the brew day on Sunday. I was like, geez, have I been standing? Oh, geez. I'm getting old. I mean, I am getting old, but I'm usually a little healthier than that.
I have a brewing story that I could tell. Just before the quarantine, I had made a couple of brews at my house, and I hadn't enjoyed them the most. And I said that there's something in Dan's water that I want to put into my beer to test it if it's me or if it's his water, right? So I said, can I come over? And he said, sure. When you come over, we're going to do 2 batches. So he made one, I made mine. And by the time it was over, it was a good 8 hours, almost 9 hours of hard slugging work. But we got 2 batches of beer out of it, so you can't complain with that.
Right on.
And you left drunk.
Yes.
So
I had to Uber that night for sure.
It wasn't a bad day.
No. But it was a workout. It was not an easy sit behind the desk kind of job. It was a full on workout to cook 2 batches in small batches of beer. It was
But fun.
but it was very enjoyable. Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, and that's good. And I mean, like, making your own beer, if it tastes good and, it gets you, it gives you a buzz and, your friends like it, that's what matters. And I think it's a smart way to go. It's a good, I guess, yeah, investment. I think it's no different than people who, obviously marijuana is legal now. So, it's no different than people who are marijuana smokers. If you're one to partake in that, I think that's it's a great way to go. You grow your own stuff. You know what you're getting. You know where it's coming from. Same as beer. Like if you want to, you want to make your own beer or you make your own alcohol, whatever it is. I mean, you know how strong it's going to be. I would assume you know how strong it's going to be, and you know what you're getting, and you know how you like it, right? So, and if it tastes bad, you have to blame yourself. So,
it's also quite the learning experience. It's not. It's actually as I'm digging deeper and deeper and learning more and more about the process, it's very scientific.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like with your water levels and your pH balances and then even just your little bit of math to figure out what is the percentage of the alcohol that you've made. All kinds of things. It's extremely scientific and mathematic. You don't have to be scientific or mathematic to do it. But as you get more and more involved in learning on how to do things differently and how to be more precise and to get exactly what you want to get, you learn. I mean, there's degrees in being a beer maker, master brewer. There's actually university courses for it. So
I mean, there's also degrees in being a beer drinker. They have the sommelier or whatever they call them.
Yeah, I don't think I could ever do that.
That's where you get the taste of beer and talk about the notes and what food pairing it goes with. But
yeah, I'd fail at that, Chris.
Back to brewing, like Dan has got a lot more toys in his arsenal for brewing than I do. I have a brew bucket. I have two brew buckets and a cook pot and all the things that go with it. And I'm able to do it. And it wasn't very expensive to get that equipment.
No, it's not.
And it's really not that expensive to brew your own beer. Once you have the bottles, once you have the equipment, the investment for 2 cases is probably anywhere from $30 to $60 depending on the style of beer.
Really?
Yeah.
But then again, if you screw that batch up, you got almost 50 beers of crap that you're going to drink because you spent the money, you spent the time, you did the work.
Right.
I'm still struggling through one of my early batches, but it's just, I drink it when I feel like I need a beer. So,
but when it goes well, it goes well.
Yes.
We had a bunch of Toronto FC fans over to the house for the first game of the season. Well, we only had 2 games so far this season, but the first game of the season, we had friends who are all fans, and we all go to games together. And I had brewed my very first sour beer, and I had a full corny keg, which is 5 US gallons, 19 liters of this sour beer in my kegerator. It was empty by the end of the night by all of us who were drinking, and that recipe cost me $12.50. So it all depends on what flavors you're going for and how intense or whatever you're trying to do, but we all had a good time on $12.50 and a little bit of work by me.
And it was a delicious sour. Like
it was.
I'm not the top fan of sour beers. Like Dan loves sours more than I do, but I enjoy a sour. They're good beers. You should really try one.
Okay. So when you talk about sour beers, so I don't want to sound like I don't know anything, which I don't. So when it comes to like sour beers, can you give me an example of like what would be a typical sour beer that you could find in the store?
one I see often and most places is actually not too far from your area. I think they're closer. They're about into the middle of where we both are. All three of us are. Is by Side Launch. What's that Side Launch sour called, Chris?
It's oh my god, it's the dry hop one.
Yes, it's literally Side Launch dry hopped sour.
Oh yeah. I think I've seen that before.
It's a red can.
Red can.
Yeah.
Red can. I've seen them at the LCBO. It's hard for sours and hazy IPAs to stay on the shelf in LCBOs because once they're there, it's like trying to buy a pair of Jordans.
Yeah,
They're just gone in seconds. If you want the most recent release of a beer, you need to wait in line at the brewery to really get it.
A second one to cut you off, Chris, so that I don't forget, is Collective Arts from Hamilton. They have the Mash Up the Jam sour.
Oh yeah,
and that one's really good as well. So if you have two to try to get yourself started off, that you will find in an LCBO is the Side Launch dry hop sour and the Collective Arts Mash Up the Jam.
Yeah, at least we can remember that name. We also did recently. Those two are like low on the sour scale, so they're not kick your ass sour. But we did recently an episode on Makes You Pucker by Amsterdam Brewery, yes. And it literally made me pucker. And I don't pucker very much, but it was definitely a puckering beer.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to try it. I mean, like I said, I'm not. I don't want to sound like I'm not optimistic, but I'm not. At the end of the day, I don't drink much anymore just because, I'm more, I work a lot. I work a lot of weekends, so I don't get the chance to go out a lot anymore to drink. So I just don't really drink often. And I'm not
it's not a bad thing, Luke. Luke, it's not a
bad thing. You don't even defend yourself to us.
But I mean, I'm just, I'm not one to have a beer like once a night or something. I know some people are really into that. But I've never really been one to do that.
Your belly probably thanks you.
Yes. You're in much more shape than we are, so.
Yeah. But I guess you guys obviously have a YouTube channel, right?
Yeah,
and,
so it's two guys, one beer.
Two guys, one beer.
Real simple.
So, have you guys ever had any negative views on your channel? Like, has anyone had any backlash? Like, what do you guys You guys have negative, have a negative effect on people or?
Oh, for sure.
Really?
I'll give you the premise of the show, and then I'll give you some of the things that we've got. The basic idea was our ladies in our life have been best friends since they were little girls. So we're stuck with each other, Chris and I.
Okay.
All right, because they're best friends, so they're going to hang out, which means Chris and I are going to have to hang out. And we were usually having a few beers and decided, hey, let's start a show. What we pride ourselves on, I mean, we feel like real professionals when we're talking with you, but the reality is we don't know anything about beer. We know if we like it, we know if we don't like it, and then sometimes there's whatever. And that is the basis of our show. And then, like we said during tonight, is we get guests once in a while and we drink and chat. And there was this Peroni.
Oh,
it's an Italian beer. And I just did not like it. And it was one of our shortest shows because I had nothing to talk about. Because I just went, I really don't like this. And Chris was like, no, I'm not impressed either. And we talked for about another 30 seconds and went, well, I guess we're done. And there was actually quite a few comments at the time. that's one of the best beers in the world. You guys don't know nothing. Why are you wasting our time? You guys are shit. It's just like, sorry you feel that way. You know, beer's everyone's opinion.
Right.
This was ours. You can have yours. It's okay. You know, there's been a couple other times that people didn't like that we've never trashed a beer. Peroni would probably be the only one that I trashed where I just said, you know what? No. And it could have been the day. I might not have been in the mood, whatever the case, but it's okay for me not to like something. And some people do take it a little more seriously. We're not beer snobs. We don't know too much. We're learning how to make beer. We just told you, and we're having fun with it.
Right.
But I'm not going to tell you what's better than something else. If you like it, that's what you like. There's nothing wrong with that. Be it, you know, when you do go for a beer, you're having your Coors Light, and I'm going to order something different.
Yeah.
You know, but there's been some negative, and I always reply to them. You know, thanks for your opinion, and, you know, hope you liked the show. If you don't like what we said, doesn't mean you couldn't like the show. And I just leave it at that. Sometimes they've tried to continue, but I never take the internet baits of back and forth, you know.
Well, it seems like you got quite the keyboard warriors, I guess. You know, I don't like your freaking show. You know, like I guess for me, I don't like when people take like if there's a show, like for example, I'll put myself in their situation. So if there was a show that I really liked on YouTube and I watch every video and I like everything, but there's one video that I don't like, I'm not going to go on there and say, yeah, like I didn't like the video, you guys suck. Well, no, I don't agree with you on that you don't like that beer, you know, like, and
Yeah.
I think that people need to wrap their heads around that. It's not necessarily you guys suck, which you guys don't, but it's just the
Thank
fact
you.
that like you just disagree with that. You just disagree with you guys. So I just think that it sucks, but I mean, hey, everyone's entitled to their opinion, right?
Well, you know, it's easy for everyone to criticize. It's easier to criticize, and that's why there's all those keyboard warriors out there. If you go to, you're going on vacation, you've got an all-inclusive resort you want to go to. If you look at the reviews, and it could be considered the best place in the world, you will find more negative than positive. Because when you're happy and you've had a good time, you usually don't go, ooh, must get on the computer and write about that.
No.
Right.
You go to your friends, oh, you have to go there.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm pissed off, I'm like, oh, geez, you know, and you got to get on the keyboard and tell everyone about it. It's easy to hide behind a keyboard, and doing what you're doing, it's not easy. We do it, and not everyone can get in front of a camera, and we're all just trying our best, having fun, and if you don't like it, don't watch. And if you do like it, thank you, and just go with that.
But the thing is, like, Dan and I we have each other to play off of. And maybe on that episode with Peroni, because neither of us had anything to say about it, it kind of just dropped off. You know, if maybe I said, oh, it's not that bad, it kind of reminds me of, but we kind of looked at each other and we couldn't get it together.
No, I don't think that's, no, I think we both didn't like it. And
Yeah.
that's okay. We're not getting paid to give promotions. We have had places send us beer,
Yeah.
and we don't lie if we like it. It's,
Well, I think you know, I don't like the fact that people change who they are to impress companies or impress people in general.
yeah,
I think it's good to stay true to yourself, like you just said. Like if you don't like something, you're not gonna lie about it, and you shouldn't, because
yes.
you know part of that. I think it's good to tell the truth because hey, I mean you tell the beer company what you really think, and that kind of gives them a chance to say, okay, hold on, all right, maybe that now we're getting ideas of what people like and what they don't like. So I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing to to comment and say, no, I don't like this beer, or I do like that beer.
Yeah.
At least that way, because I mean, it's like telling someone, yeah, does this look good on me? Well, should you be honest? I mean, if it's a girl, probably you should, probably you should lie. But if it's a friend of yours, yeah, like if it's something like, hey, what do you think about my car? You should be honest. I mean, do you like it? At the end of the day, they're gonna be your friend no matter what.
Yeah.
So like with the beer companies, you should be honest. I mean, at least what are they gonna do? Say, well, screw you. You don't like our beer. We're not gonna send you more. Well, okay. I mean, what are you guys gotta lose out on? You guys are still doing your show. You guys are still reviewing your beers. So be honest, and I respect that.
There was one that was sent to us. I don't remember who it was. It was a company that we'd already done one or two shows of another brand, and it was more of an IPA. It was an IPA, and on the show I remember saying, "This is not for me," but I'm not an IPA fan. Chris, you're an IPA fan. What do you think? This is your style. So there was that play, and he was going, "No, I fucking love it. This is great." I'm going, I said, and I even remember saying, "Thank God for their whatever it was, because I love that one, but I won't be picking up this one." But that's a warning to all you non-IPA fans. So it really plays in what you just finished saying is, they do want to hear that. Oh, okay, so that IPA is stronger, and only IPA drinkers are going to love that.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas the everyday non-IPA fan is going to go, well, that's just too much. So when it comes to their own advertising, they could actually advertise it in different ways. They're not going to advertise to the everyman. They're going to, direct it towards a certain clientele. Possibly. I don't know. I'm talking out my ass now, Luke.
I mean, I believe you.
Thanks, Chris.
I was just saying he's got a point here. This is
he does.
Right on.
Let's all take a drink, boys.
All right. Cheers.
Freshen up a
Cheers.
little.
Hey, man, this shit's pretty good. I've never had this before.
What is that one?
It's called Honest Lager, Walkerville Brewery in Windsor, Ontario.
Oh, nice. No, I've never heard of them.
Yeah, it's like a craft. It's a craft lager, and yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I know it's never good to judge a book by its cover. I thought this stuff was gonna suck.
I mean, to be honest, you say you like light beer, and you drink your Coors Light and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Dan said it earlier. The breweries in and around Ontario, they do brew pretty much every style of beer you could ever imagine.
Right.
And you can get a light beer. Like I'm sure that's a lighter beer on like a 5.5.
Well, it's a 5.3. Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah,
that was a pretty good guess. I mean, a crafted lager usually fits in that area. So, like this one that I drank earlier, the ice cold beer, it was like 4.5. Like that's a light beer, easy drinking, Sunday afternoon, watching football or whatever your taste in sports that you watch. Like you will find a good craft beer out there that will fill the void of a Coors Light for sure.
100%. But yeah. Well, shoot, I forgot what I was gonna say now. I just had it on my mind. Now I just totally forgot.
Happens, buddy. It happens.
Yeah, I guess. Oh yeah, now I remember what I was gonna say. So with the drinking age being 19 in Canada, what are your views on that? Do you think it should be higher or lower?
I lived I lived in Fort Francis, Ontario, which is northern Ontario, not the Muskokas, but northern Ontario. But it just happens to be on the Minnesota border. So the age there is 21 in
Right.
Minnesota. And Fort Frances is also only about 3 hours drive to Manitoba, where the drinking age is 18. So you would see, I know when I turned 18, I graduated high school on my 18th birthday, and then got on a bus with my girlfriend at the time, and we took a bus to Winnipeg so that we could go to the bars the next night because the age was 18. And I used to work in a bar up there as well, and you'd see a lot of the American kids who were 19 crossing the border
Yeah.
to hit up the bars. I've always thought that if you can vote, if you can die for your country, you can drink. So I believe the age should be 18. You're either an adult or you're not. Don't pick and choose what levels of adulthood you're going to give me. Well, when you're 18, you're an adult. But when you're 19 is when we're going to let you make your own choices as an adult for alcohol. And then, like, you got to just stick with one age, and that's it. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Chris?
I mean, I grew up in Sarnia, which is a border town to Michigan or Huron, as I'm sure you know. And the same thing happened. You go to the bars downtown Toronto or downtown Sarnia, and you see a bunch of Americans there. This was before it was difficult to cross the border. It was kind of easy. All you needed was a driver's license to get into Canada. I'm making myself sound old, but that was all you needed.
Come on.
So, you could get into Canada and you could have a drink at 19, 20 years old, well before. I mean, I feel a little different than Dan. I don't feel like we should change the age to 21, but 19 is reasonable to me. It seems like a reasonable age.
No, I was dropping the age, Chris.
Yeah, I know, but I don't feel like it should go up. I just feel like it's pretty good where it is at this current level. I think it's we don't need to change it, in my opinion. But that's my opinion.
What's your thoughts, Luke?
Well, I gotta say, so I guess for me, it's kind of hard, because I have different views, right? But I think 19, is it reasonable? Well, I guess you gotta ask yourself. So, typically for guys, about 24, 25 is when the frontal lobe develops, and that's your reasoning, your thinking. However, when you're drinking, your reasoning's not there. So I guess, I guess you got to look at it as, and there's been cases of young drivers who drink and drive, and things happen when you're young, you're stupid. But I think at the end of the day, though, I think if you're a person at 19 who has common sense, who's well educated about the safety of drinking, I don't think there's anything wrong with it, with the drinking age being 19. I drank at 19. I turned out great. So I guess I don't think 19 is bad. I think it's just you just have some people who have no common sense. I mean, if you look at, there's people that are 25 or 30 who are drinking and driving, and there's people that are 19 who know better than a guy or girl at 30 or 40 or 50. I could go on and on. But I guess, I think 19 is pretty reasonable, and kind of like what Dan was saying, if you can vote at 18 and you can die for your country at 18, okay, then you're legally an adult. So 19, I think, is another year where it gives you another year to, I guess, mature in a sense. And yeah, I think 19 is pretty reasonable, because, if you look at it, most kids are going into school or going into college around 17, 18. So it gives them that year to, I'm kind of getting off topic, but if you were to go into college or university at that age, gives you that year to get into school, and so I think 19 is reasonable. And now bringing it up about you guys like growing up in border cities. Now for me, like I live in Chatham, Ontario. So Chatham is like, obviously I told you, like about 3.5 hours from Toronto, and about an hour away from Sarnia, as you grew up there. Now Chatham is like about 45 minutes away from Windsor, I think. And in Windsor, like I've had my fair share of going out out on the town in Windsor. And yeah, like same thing. Like you'll find, I remember a friend of mine, Jared, and I, we went out. I think, was it not last year, the year before, and we met some girls at the club and at the bar and stuff, and they were telling us like, yeah, no, we're from, I think it was like Michigan, and yeah, no, we just come here because we can drink, and they're 19, obviously, but we can't drink in the States, so we just come here, and I'm like, oh, okay. And that's smart, right? I mean, they get away with it. And I think it's I wonder though, like I feel like part of it, I don't feel like it's right, because like the border officers, when they ask them what they're coming down here for to drink, it kind of seems like, should they still let them do that even though it's 21 in the States? Are you guys hearing what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
I don't know.
It's the law of the land, not the law of the land you're coming from.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So you can't go to a different country and do some. I don't know what states are legal or not legal for marijuana right now.
Right.
Because it's not my thing. But if I went to a state where it's still not legal in the U.S. and decided I was going to smoke some marijuana, they can arrest me. I can't say to them, but where I live it's legal. So it's your argument for the border crossing and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what you're coming across the border to do, as long as you're doing it legally. And it doesn't matter if it's legal in the country you're coming from or not. Is it legal in the country you're entering?
I feel like a reasonable question would be to ensure that however they're coming back to their own country, they're not coming back drunk driving, right?
Well, that's
we Dan and I both do not condone drinking and driving, right? We enjoy a bevy and we don't go anywhere. We sit at home and chill, right? So the best, the closest border town to where we live is Niagara Falls, and a lot of people come from Niagara Falls, USA, to go to the bars in Niagara Falls, Ontario, because of the same reason as we've been talking. But maybe there should be a checkpoint at the border. Wouldn't that be a way to prevent?
Oh, I know where I used to live that the cops would wait on the U.S. border.
And they should.
And they weren't waiting because most people that would come across, they'd fill the car. And they were all of age in Ontario, but not in the U.S. And they would pick a DD. This weekend, it's your turn. And so they still had a DD to get them home across the border. But the cops would still pull them over knowing that there was 5 drunks in the car that were underage. So they're now intoxicated in public. Your driver's fine.
They're drunk and not
you got a DD. But Bob, Joe, Ann, Fred, Henry, out you get. Here's your ticket. Here's your ticket. Okay, driver, drive them home safely.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of I always wonder that, like, so if someone, okay, so say in Detroit on the Ambassador Bridge, say 4 or 5 19-year-olds come drinking one night, and you got a person that's the DD, right? They're not drinking, they're not driving. So I gotta wonder. So they go into Canada, into Windsor, they drink all night, and they have the one driver, rightfully so, they're not drinking, and they drive them back over the border. So because they are intoxicated now, if they're coming intoxicated into the States, so I would wonder, would you think that they still get charged because now they're drunk under the age of 21 in the States?
Law of the land, same argument I had earlier.
Yeah, like
You weren't breaking the law on the other side of the border, but now you've crossed this border and you're an underage drunk. Law of the land.
yeah,
I mean,
and I think the best thing to do is just stay in Windsor for the night. And I mean, I
Right?
don't know,
Yeah.
if it was me, I would do that just because why not? I mean, it's kind of like a mini vacation, I guess.
Make a weekend of it.
exactly.
Exactly.
And
Five of you, you're all
it-
19, you pitch in a couple bucks, you're all passing out on the floor anyway.
We probably all had that.
I mean, you have to know that down in Florida during spring break that 90% of those people that are down there are not of legal drinking age.
Oh, 100%.
They let that stuff slide, but I agree with you that if you're gonna cross into like the as Dan said about Manitoba being 18,
Yeah.
if you're gonna go in there, there's no need for you to come home. Just drink there and come back when you're done, when you're sober.
Isn't Quebec still 18?
I think it's still 18.
Yeah, so if you live in Ottawa, you just pop over to Hull for a couple hours and then come back.
I mean, that's like a 20-minute drive, right? So
Not
maybe
even.
less, depending on where you live in Ottawa. But
I
like,
thought
that's
Ottawa
the
and Hull
thing.
were like next to each other, weren't they?
yeah, they're together. They're connected.
Yeah.
Depends on where you live.
Okay.
But that's the lay of the land. I mean, that scenario where it's provincial wise versus country wise, I don't know. It depends. I think
Yeah, I'd like it to be at least, no matter what age everyone chooses and what's right or wrong, I would like the country to have a single age.
yeah,
It's kind of silly to have different provinces with different ages.
Well, because then that way, I mean, there's no loopholes that people are going through to drink at the age that they can, right? Like if you just make it all Canada, they're all, everyone has to be 19. There's no BS. There's no kind of like, well, I mean, I got to drink here, so that's okay. Like I think everything should be, the same. But the problem is, I mean, you have Quebec who I feel like Quebec is kind of, they got their own system going on over there. Like
Every province does. They're much louder and make better threats than the other provinces.
Yep.
Shit. Now we're heading into a political territory.
Oh, I love Quebec and I love Quebecers, so I'm not going in any negative terms. I want Canada to be a country, and which it is. I'm an immigrant. It really works out well for me because, and this is not being rude or mean in any way, but I'm white and I speak amazing English. So most people don't even know I'm an immigrant. I have so much love for this country that when it comes to provinces all having their different rules and stuff, I keep trying to think, wait a minute, but aren't we in Canada? And that's just my mindset because I moved to Canada. I didn't move to just a province. And I have lived in other provinces, and this is a great, big, beautiful country. And some things I just wish would be the same across the board. I won't get political, but I wish healthcare, especially in the time that we're living in right now, I wish that was countrywide so that there'd be less bureaucracy and more money for the actual healthcare.
I agree.
I agree too.
Because we're Canadians, so let's be Canadian first and provincial second, as opposed to the other way around.
Well, you know what, Dan? I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I wouldn't even known if you were an immigrant from England. I mean, obviously you came a long time ago, so
yeah.
you wouldn't have
a
as
few
much
drinks. I might have an accent.
He can do one. He's got a pretty decent English accent.
Okay, Dan, can you please do one for us? Come on.
No, I promised family members I'd never do that.
Come on, Oliver Twist. Come on.
Yours is better than mine.
Come on, Danielle.
Nothing to be done. It's
please, sir.
Please, can I have some more?
Shit. That's funny.
No, this has been great. I'm glad you reached out to us, Luke.
No, this has been awesome. I've been loving it. It's probably one of the most fun podcasts I've had in a while. Not that I haven't enjoyed the other guests I've had, but you guys have been Yep.
This makes it
Just
easy,
need
man.
one or two. It loosens you up, and you can talk.
It opens up the palate, and everything's okay.
Don't go more than two, because then you start going.
Yeah. And then everything starts slurring, and then that's when you turn off the recording. So
Yes.
You
And not send it to
forget
your
where you
parents.
are.
I guess I just want to get on one more subject. How do you guys feel about American beer being watered down? The term "watered down."
I got in trouble. We did. I told you my favorite out of the studio guest was Bill Manning, and our second show with him, he invited us back out to the Toronto FC training ground, and we were outside getting our gear out of the car, and the general manager of the time, Tiz Bezbachenko, came by and he saw us outside, and he goes, "Oh, hey guys, how you doing? You're going upstairs to do your show again?" "Yeah." "Oh, just so you know, Bill has invited the whole staff."
That's interesting.
"What?" "Yeah, he wants the whole staff in the show. They've just built a Budweiser bar in the training ground for celebrations and stuff like that. And your guys' show is going to be with the staff and Bill." And I was thinking, well, I didn't know that, and I don't know how I'm going to film this, and this should be interesting. But we all cuddled up around this bar, and actually one of the staff members took one of our cameras and was moving it around for us, which was very helpful. And Bill Manning's American, and I feel comfortable with Bill. He's a great guy, and we talk once in a blue moon with each other, so I wasn't going in blind. And I asked him on the show if he knew what the difference was between a canoe and American beer. And he goes, "No." Now you got his staff surrounding him. He is the boss of all these people. He goes, "No, I don't know." And I said, "They're both too damn close to water." Well, his staff just didn't know how to take it. Like, oh, Jesus, he's American, Dan. I'm like, I know he's American. That's why I said the joke.
I mean,
So
we were drinking a good American beer, so.
And the show went beautifully. And the funny thing was, we were drinking Michelob Ultra for that show, which, if you want a light beer, and it's kind of tasty for an ultra light beer. I don't mind it.
I like it too. Like that's one of the light beers I do drink, because obviously for obvious reasons because I do pretty much I'm in the process of bodybuilding. So for me, like, that's a very light beer. So, and it is tasty. So if it's light and it works for me, it works for my body.
Yeah.
Might as well.
So I'm going to answer your question, though, before I
Okay.
go to let Chris take it on.
Okay.
If you're drinking what I call the big box beers, and that's on big box in Canada would be your Labatt's Blue, your Coors Light, your Molson Canadian, and stuff like that. They're all kind of blasé, we'll say. Now, if you go into the U.S.'s big box beers, which would be Keystone, Ultra, Miller Genuine Draft, things like that, you do get that. It's not watered down. It's just less alcohol content, and the flavoring is lighter tasting, we'll say, even for their stronger ones. Now, that said, the American craft beers that are out there are on par with everybody else. They're amazing. I can't say enough good things about them. Some might like the Canadian ones better, or the British ones better, or the American ones better, or the Australians. But all in all, they're all comparable and some really, really good beers.
Mm-hmm.
But that's the craft beer scene in the U.S. As for the big box ones, don't they do the alcohol measurements differently? I mean, they do everything else differently, so they probably do.
Yeah, you got me on that. So
I think it's like a percentage by weight, where we're percentage by volume.
yeah, because I think I'm pretty sure we're volume, or so like most of them would be like counted in milliliters, I think.
Yeah, all ours would be that, but
Yeah,
the actual way they measure the alcohol is done differently.
I think so.
But that's my thought on the U.S. beer watered down thing, and it doesn't happen in the craft beer world on that side of the country. Chris, go ahead if I'm
Chris
saying
is shaking his
wrong.
head, so
I mean, I'm not shaking my head. I'm more saying that it's definitely not the case with the craft beer. The craft beer is just as good, and probably there's more craft breweries in the U.S. than there are in Canada.
Oh yeah.
But I have not tried half as many American craft breweries as I have tried Canadian. But really and truly, the watered down aspect, I think it kind of came from back when Canadian, like Molson Canadian and Molson Brewery was Canadian made and not made in Milwaukee or wherever it is made now. Because it was a little bit stronger. I remember joking saying Budweiser was water and Molson Canadian wasn't. But I mean, the craft beer world is so much more than just those big box beers that Dan was talking about. That's where I put my focus in, as opposed to the big boxes like Corona, Budweiser, Coors Light. I mean, I think most of those companies are either owned by each other or very similar. Like InBev owns like 90% of the crap you see at the beer store.
Yeah.
Or
So what is there's 4 or 5 major brewing companies in the world. Everything else is craft.
Yeah. And like, if you want to talk about like Canadian made big box, you have to throw out like Moosehead.
yeah.
I'm pretty sure they're still independently owned
I think so.
within the country. They didn't sell out to InBev or Sapporo or whoever the heck else is out there. I don't even know. Asahi, yeah. So like there's as Dan said, there's 4 big breweries, and they're the ones that you get on tap at baseball games, at bars, at hockey games, at soccer games. And they're on tap for a reason, because they mass produce, where craft beer gives you something.
No, Chris, they're not on tap for mass producing. They're on tap because they pay huge sponsorship deals to be the only thing on tap.
And I mean, I guess they mass produce the alcohol to put it in there because they're paying to be there. They're sponsors. Budweiser makes some of the best Super Bowl commercials out there.
Oh, 100%.
But I can't drink the beer. I can't drink the beer. It may be cheaper than some craft beer, but I would much rather pay $50 for 18 beers than pay $35 for 24 of Budweiser.
Well,
that's my opinion.
Well, and the thing is, I mean, how I look at it, so, you know, in the past I have gone groceries in the States, right? Like I'll just cross the border, like I'll cross the like the ferry. Like before you get to Sarnia, there's like the ferry there on the reserves, and like on Walpole Island. And yeah, you go across there. It's a quick trip, but you go across there, you go to like Kroger's in the States. And I mean, if you like, I guess if you look at it this way, if you're just looking to get drunk one weekend, or you want to throw a party and you know you're going to be drinking a lot, yeah, you know, if you get Budweiser, brands like that, yeah, it might be watered down, it might be a little bit lighter, you know, lighter beers, but at the end of the day, you know, you're getting your money's worth, right? Yeah. Especially if you're going to be planning on drinking a lot, you might as well just buy them. You know, you're going to save a little bit of money, and you know.
Well, age will make a difference as well. Because when I was 19 until 30 plus, it was, well, I want to go out and get drunk. I don't want to go out and sociably spend a lot of money on beer I like. Where now I want to try different flavors and find the ones I like, and I'm willing to spend a little bit more to do it. Because I'm not looking for we're going to go get pissed up tonight. I'm looking for that. I want to go out and sociably enjoy myself, and now we can't even do that.
I know. There's no social nothing. This is social.
Yeah, we're
So
just
now I make it at home. I'll be okay.
I mean,
you need a minute there, Dan?
No, I'm okay.
you might need another drink. He's looking pretty empty, as am I. But
It's all good.
But yeah, guys, we're kind of coming up on time here, so I just want to thank Chris and Dan for joining on my podcast here. You guys have been nothing but great guests. I would love to have you guys on again, or you guys have me on your show. It'd be an honor. You guys have been
It's
great.
happening, Luke. You're coming on the show, and we're going to get you drunk.
Okay.
even if it has to be like this, you can sit in your basement and you can drink a beer out of every one of those steins behind you.
Well, I mean, we'll see about that. But we'll see. We'll see. But I definitely come on your show for sure.
You're more than welcome to.
Anytime, buddy.
Okay, guys.
Hopefully we're allowed out soon so we can all enjoy each other's presence in real life.
I think that would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us, Luke.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us. It was a pleasure.
It has been a pleasure, and we'll talk soon.
Yeah, for sure.
Cheers.
Cheers.